To hide all this countless money, they dug massive pits in the forest and buried the cash bundle by bundle. Besides that, they also built small cabins specifically to hide money, with tons of bills stuffed in the walls and ceilings. In the end, Pablo even hid many $100 bills in his mother's sofa, but his mother was extremely disliked by it. Since there were so many hiding spots, Pablo hired an accountant specifically to mark each day's money hiding locations. All this money that one person couldn't spend in several lifetimes belonged to Pablo. He was the biggest drug lord in the history of the world. Yet he took this money to build schools in the slums and even gave every single resident in his hometown $100,000. This won him massive public support, and he nearly got elected president of Colombia. This is Narcos, a series based on true events. Pablo initially did smuggling business, specifically smuggling household appliances. By bribing all the Border Patrol police with money, his business went fairly smoothly. But some police were extremely greedy. They took the bribes but still wouldn't let him through, wanting even more money. But facing these people who didn't keep their word, Pablo didn't get angry. Instead, he calmly walked up to each soldier and told them the brand of jewelry their wives wore and what time their children got out of school. He knew their families better than they did themselves. For their family's safety, the soldiers had to let Pablo pass. With this extraordinary courage, if he only did smuggling business, Pablo could also earn endless wealth. But one day, a drug dealer nicknamed Cockroach found Pablo. He had a small drug lab and wanted to use Pablo's smuggling channels to sell drugs to every city in Colombia. He could earn $10 per gram, but he still underestimated Pablo's ambition.
¿Qué cuesta $10 al gramo? ¿Cuánto cree pues que va a costar en Miami?
This shocked Cockroach greatly. Then he took Pablo to visit his small lab. Although it looked very crude, it could produce hundreds of pounds of cocaine every day. Unexpectedly, Pablo proposed to transport 100 pounds that same day. He immediately had his cousin buy 3 small cars and put 5 kilograms of drugs in each tire. If sold at American prices, just this one time could make him millions. But this method could only get through domestic security checks. There was no way to transport it to America. So Pablo found a trusted American called Lion. He stuffed exactly 10 kilograms of drugs into his suit. Then Lion took the regular route and successfully entered Miami. Because at that time, America only focused on marijuana and was very lax about checking powder. After leaving the airport, he handed the drugs to local distributors, but then immediately rushed back to Colombia. Just like that, Lion ran back and forth between Colombia and America over a dozen times before finally transporting this batch of goods. With the first sum of money, Pablo directly bought several large trucks to transport drugs. Because the trucks were loaded with potatoes, Border Patrol police were too lazy to check, which saved Pablo the money to bribe them. The drugs were hidden in the spare tires. The entire convoy could transport over a ton of drugs at once. To improve efficiency, Lion also hired people. He bribed airport staff with money and filled their briefcases with powder. He even hired dozens of pregnant women to have them swallow drug capsules coated with oil. Swallow 50 packs and get $10,000. Because at that time, US Customs wouldn't check pregnant women. In the end, each pregnant woman's fate was different. The lucky ones could get that $10,000. The unlucky ones had drug capsules rupture in their stomachs, and the women would lose their lives because of it. As the business grew bigger and bigger, Pablo's drug trafficking channels also increased. Soon, fish bellies, shoe heels, and some other legal export goods all hid his drugs. Besides these, Pablo also thought of a method that didn't need to go through security checks, but could transport large quantities of drugs. Lion found him a pilot who flew tourist routes in America. His plane could carry 1 ton of cocaine at a time, but Pablo's cousin still wasn't satisfied with this.
¿Qué pasa si sacamos los asientos, los tapetes, los extintores y todo eso que no sirve y dejamos solamente espacio para el piloto? ¿Cabe más?
¿Serán 300 más?
Just like that, they used every space in the plane to the extreme. With this drug trafficking airline, Pablo's drugs sold extremely fast. Soon, there was a supply shortage situation. He went to the lab to urge Cockroach to speed up the drug production process. But Cockroach's mood seemed very bad because he was in the forest every day, very bored, while Pablo and his people lived in big villas and lived wealthy lives. This made Cockroach very dissatisfied. Although on the surface he was still cooperating with Pablo, behind the scenes he had already started scheming against him. Sure enough, an accident happened that day. The police, who usually didn't check cargo, suddenly stopped the big trucks and also demanded to check their spare tires. This batch of goods was 400 kilograms, causing Pablo to lose nearly $20 million. At this moment, he no longer had his previous calm and drove straight into the police station.